Without a shadow of a doubt, we back again, man. Maybe a couple of minutes before 7 o'clock, but that's okay. Because right now, you're about to go into the middle of the war zone. I got my good friend Donovan Sadiq. Demetra K is in the building. And tonight, they call him controversial. I just call him Tony. We got Tony Buzbee in the war zone tonight. So ain't no sense of playing. We finna get to it, man.
Oh, man.
Say, I want to welcome you guys to the war zone. I appreciate you tuning in. And as usual, we could not do this without y'all. How y'all doing, Demetri and Donovan and Tony?
All good.
Man, every
All
night
good.
we come into the war zone. Every night we come with something different. I reached out to this good man and just reached out to him on Facebook. And you never know when a multimillionaire might respond to you. So my man responded, and we got Tony Buzbee in the building. How you doing, Doc?
I'm doing what I can. I mean, it's a difficult time. I think we're all suffering through it, but yeah, I'm feeling good.
Okay. Now a lot of people, I've done a lot of research on you.
Oh, Jesus.
Way before elections and all that. I try to keep up with the movers and shakers. But a lot of people don't really know who Tony Buzbee is. Can you give them like a quick bio of Tony Buzbee?
Yeah, I'm going to hit the high points. The most important thing to me is my dad. My dad was a butcher and cut meat for 43 years for Safeway Corporation. Some of you may remember that grocery store. And my mother drove my school bus and worked in our cafeteria. I went to a school that was a 2A school in Texas. That's my little town was 1,300 people, and played football and that sort of thing. But none of my family had ever been to college, and I was able to get a ROTC scholarship from the Marines and went to Texas A&M, and then went into the Marine Corps as a lieutenant, went into the infantry, and then ultimately a special forces recon guy, and served. And we were just talking before we went live, served in Desert Storm, and then served in Somalia in 1993, and had a small bit of time during the LA riots we were just talking about. And then, when I got out of the Marines, I was a young married person, no children, came to Houston, and went to law school at University of Houston, and did pretty good, and started my own law firm. And now I represent people who have been cheated or discriminated against or wronged in some way. Sometimes I represent large companies now that I've had some success. And of course, I ran for mayor last election cycle here in Houston. We were just laughing. I got my face beat in by the current mayor. He may have done me a favor, because it'd be tough to be the mayor right now in any city across the country. But that's really me in a nutshell. What I care about is I care about animals. I care about the homeless. I care about people that get the short end of the stick. And I've had some success, and I've I don't know why God bless. I don't know. Sometimes I think I sit in my chair in here in my house, and I think about, like, why what did God bless me for? I don't know. I keep trying to find that out, but I have been blessed, and been blessed not only for some success in my career, but also from all the different people that I've been able to meet, including the three that are in this show.
Man, I tell you what, man. That last election cycle was a monster.
Yeah.
Some races I saw that should have went different ways. They didn't go. In the race that you ran against Mayor Turner, the one thing he just kept dropping was the fact that you did a fundraiser for Donald Trump. So that was like, okay, he hang out with Trump. We shouldn't vote for him.
Yeah.
But I think he forgot to tell the public that you actually did fundraisers for him too.
Yeah. Yeah. The mayoral cycle before the one I ran in, and again, being the mayor of Houston, as far as my business is concerned, whoever the mayor is or the county judge is has no impact on my business. I've got cases in California, Louisiana, New York, Texas, all over the country. And it doesn't matter who the mayor is, but I care about the city that I live in. I raise my kids here, my business is here. And so the election before the one I ran in, I was supporting, because he asked me to support him, one of our county commissioners now. But once he lost and he didn't make it to the runoff, he came to me and said, "Hey, would you be willing to do a fundraiser in your house for Sylvester Turner?" Now, I knew who Sylvester Turner was. I mean, Sylvester Turner has been in politics for more than 30 years in the state of Texas, state rep and so forth, and very active and very well known. And he's tried, he had run for mayor at least 2 times prior. So I said, sure, just have him call me and I will, I'll try to help him out, because his opponent was this guy, Bill King, who I didn't really care much for. And so, Sylvester came to my house and we had a fundraiser, and hopefully I raised him a good amount of money and helped him in his election. He ended up winning, of course. And so, but as soon as I announced to run, he immediately started attacking me because I had supported Donald Trump when Trump had run for the presidency. And it was kind of, it was ironic that, he was attacking me for supporting Donald Trump when I had actually supported him. So yeah, you're right. I've supported in the past, I've been convinced I supported Donald or Joe Biden as an example. So I think we're all probably thinking about who are we going to support this next election cycle. But I as we talked about before we went live, I have a good prediction of who's going to win this next one.
Demetri?
Be easy on me.
Huh?
Be easy on me now. What does that say on your shirt?
It says, "Thank you for leaving me alone."
I love it.
It's one of my favorite shirts.
Where'd you get that? I want to get one of those too. I'll do that when I go on these long walks all over Houston. I've walked like 7 to 10 miles a day, and that would be the perfect shirt.
I got it from Five and Below. The $5 store or whatever it's called.
Yeah. No, I got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, well, welcome once again. And so,
thank you.
Why do you think it was such a, nail in the coffin for you when you being associated with Trump was brought up?
Well, we did, even before I ran, I spent a little bit of money polling. I did some polling on my name ID. I did some polling to the extent people even knew who I was, which very few people did, what they thought about me. I did some polling on Turner, like what people thought about him. And I did some polling on Trump because I expected and anticipated that they would try to attack me because of my association, or at least they thought my association with Donald Trump. Donald Trump, when I started the election, had a 59% extremely unfavorable rating within the city of Houston. Now, if you expanded that Harris County, it almost became favorable, but within the city itself, he had a 59% either unfavorable or very unfavorable connotation, if you will. And then as the election went on, like when I first announced, and I did a few commercials, and I talked about City Hall for sale and all the stuff you may have seen or may not have seen, but I had a pretty good. People liked me more than 50%. I mean, which in politics that's pretty good. But once Sylvester started his negative campaigning, where he just tried to tie me with Trump, he pushed me below 50%, and I stayed below 50% the entire election cycle, even though I still got 44% of the vote. And that's why I say that his team was very, very skilled, and they knew what would sink me. And it didn't matter if I proved that he had had a bag full of cash and he took it to his house, and I showed the cash and showed the bag and showed where he took it from the city. The Trump thing sunk me. There was really nothing I could do. And even when I made it to the runoff, my whole team, and then my look at the numbers, I spent a little bit of money in the runoff, but I knew it was a loss leader. I knew I couldn't win it.
So I'll go before somebody. So I did read that at first, I guess you were a Trump supporter, and then I guess the Access Hollywood tape came out, and then you disassociated yourself from them. And then it sounds like you donated $500,000 to the inaugural, I guess, campaign or whatever it was, or committee.
The timing of that, I mean, Turner was very good about trying to show, but the timing of that was when I did the fundraiser here, I committed to his inaugural. I mean, I could have backed out of it. I mean, there's nothing legally binding me to do it. Mm-hmm. But when we did the fundraiser, I actually didn't put up any money. I raised him $2.5 million, and I provided my house, and I provided, obviously it costs money to throw some big event like that, but I committed to the inaugural. But I didn't know he was going to win. I didn't think he would win. I thought it was a hoot that Donald Trump, the Apprentice, the head of the Apprentice, was at my house. And so when he did win, I had made that commitment, and the head of the inaugural committee said, "Tony, you made that commitment. Are you going to follow through with it?" Well, so I followed through with it. So it kind of looked like I supported him, didn't support him, and supported him again. What actually happened was I supported him. That Access Hollywood thing came out, which my daughter, I have two, but one of my daughters who's really, speaks a lot, if you will. I mean, very loud in my ear. "I can't believe you were," and I was like, no, well, and so I posted something on Facebook saying I think those comments were reprehensible, blah, blah, blah. But I ultimately did vote for him. I mean, I had to choose between Hillary Clinton, who I know, and Donald Trump, who I know. And of those two, I chose Donald Trump. And then, the commitment I made, I followed through with. I mean, because hell, it was the president. So, although it looks from the outside like, I'm like flip-flopping like a couple of flip-flops, the truth was that's just kind of how it shook out. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's what yeah.
Donovan?
Yeah. Hey, once again, thank you for your service. I mean, it's an honor to have you on the show. I just got a few questions, and I made a couple comments in the comment section. When you see a Marine become a millionaire, that's almost impossible.
What? No, say that again. What?
When a Marine becomes a millionaire, that's almost impossible. You guys aren't educated. You guys aren't educated.
James Baker, the former Secretary of State, was a Marine. I can keep going. There's a ton of them.
Exactly. No. It's just, I was Air Force, so I'm gonna tell you, I was in Mogadishu. We brought in some of the light infantry equipment on the C5s.
What year?
So
93?
we were no. Yeah, I think I was there late 91, early 92.
I left there right before that. Remember that movie Black Hawk Down? I'm sure you've seen it.
Yeah.
I was there like literally right before. We pulled out right before that.
Okay. Yeah, I was there a little bit in that area, then we jammed out too. But again, for those guys that don't know what these guys do, unbelievable to be a Marine. And by the way, there was a cache of money that was missing from the base on the way to Mogadishu, and the Marines were.
No, I didn't get it.
I
made my money the hard way. I sued people for it.
The hard way.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let me ask you this, because a lot of people that don't know, because they think if you're in the Army, you're just a grunt. If you're in the Marine Corps, you're just a grunt. Now, you had an opportunity to choose between any of the branches of service. What made you choose to be a Marine versus, maybe the Air Force or the Navy or something like that?
That's a great question. I'm just one of those kind of people that always chooses the tough route. I mean, that's just how I am. Even in the Marines, when I finished first in my training, my initial training. So I had the opportunity to choose any specialty I wanted. I could have been a flyboy. I could have flown, the fancy jets and all that stuff. I chose to be an infantry officer. I used to say grunts pound the ground. You may have heard that. And then even in the infantry, I tried out and was ultimately selected to reconnaissance unit, which is, Marines don't say special forces like they do in Army and SEALs in the Navy, but it's equivalent to like, this, SEALs or whatever. In fact, they train at Coronado Island, which is where they train the SEALs. So I did that. After my first tour, I tried out for and was selected to become a reconnaissance officer. And that's my mentality, and that's kind of in my law practice. I'm always seeking out those tougher cases with more risk but more reward, and it's kind of my mentality. Maybe that's the reason I ran for mayor and got beat up, but that's just how I operate in my life on a daily basis. Sorry. But thank you for your service too. What I always say about that is that when people thank you for the service, I thank the Marine Corps for what they did for me, because I got a lot more out of the Marines than they got out of me.
And that's the key. That's the key, because they're going to get theirs.
Yeah, they're going to get there. Sure.
Now, a lot of people don't know that, they just hear the lawyer and all that, but there's a giving side to you. I know about the bike giveaways you do every year. I think it's like 1,000 bikes you give away for Christmas and different things like that. Yeah. Can you tell folks because some days guys in your position, they don't like to talk about it. They just do it. And I respect that.
Yeah.
But sometimes you got to toot your own horn, because a lot of people don't know what you do some days. So before they can judge Tony Buzbee, let's find out how many times he's actually helped the community.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that, and you're 100% right. It's like, I don't go around talking about that. When I was a kid, and my father, like I said, my father made a big impact on me. We had a huge garden, and we had pigs and chickens and guineas and ducks and geese, and we had a little 1 acre farm, but we worked very, very hard. I was out there digging potatoes or cutting okra or pulling carrots. But we used to take, you can only, fresh vegetables and fruits and so forth. You can can a lot of it, but eventually you're probably going to have to give it away or sell it. And my dad used to take us, and I'm talking about in the backwoods of East Texas. We would go to like places, people out in the middle of the country that had no running water, had no indoor plumbing, had no electricity. And we would bring big baskets of fresh fruit and vegetables to them. And my, old lady dipping snuff, with snuff running down her lip. And my dad would say, "Hug her neck, boy, hug her neck." And, I'm just like a kid, and I'm just like, I got to go hug this lady's neck, but she's got snuff running down her face. And he really impacted on me how important it is, because we weren't well off. I remember we had a 3-bedroom house. It was 1,400 square feet, and the walls were so thin, I could hear my parents talking at night about, which bill they could pay, which bill they couldn't pay. They were kicking the can down the road to try to make ends meet, living paycheck to paycheck. They bought everything on credit. A lot of people have never even heard of layaway. We would go to Kmart and do layaway for Christmas gifts. And when the blue light special, some people don't ever heard of that, but my mom used to hang out at Kmart waiting for the blue light special so we could run over there and take advantage of that, 10% discount or whatever the devil it was. But my parents impressed upon me the importance of, look, if you have some degree of success, you got to give something back. And I've really worked hard and with my children to try to impress upon them the same thing. And so when you talk about the bike giveaways, what we used to do was we would give away 1,000 or 2,000 bikes every other year. and we would have a Christmas party for my firm and for my, you probably heard about the Snoop Dogg party and all that. That's like the off year. The more fun things we did was give away bikes. What I've been doing recently is giving away vans, handicapped accessible vans to the Houston Children's Charity. I've given away 15 so far. And if you could just see the face of these families, many times these are families where the mother of the handicapped, and we're talking about severely handicapped children, has abandoned a child or left them with a foster parent or left them with a grandparent. And they're very, it takes a 24-hour care. And these folks who are trying to take care of these children are homebound because they just can't leave because they have to provide 24-hour care. And you provide them a van where they now can take this child to the park or take this child, out and around Houston. The look on their face. And I bring my children to that where we give away these keys to these vans and they can go outside and see the van. And now all of a sudden they're mobile. And they can take their kid around who's, you think about, on the one hand, obviously they're completely devoted to that child. On the other hand, they feel like they're kind of resentful because I'm just stuck here. And you provide them some degree of mobility. That makes me think back to going back in the backwoods, giving somebody a basket of fruit and a new turkey and a ham to give them some food and some fresh fruit. And that was all impressed upon me by my father. So over the years, I'll give you another example. I used to collect a lot of exotic cars. I mean, growing up poor, I used to wear plastic shoes and Rustler jeans. And I'm sure some of the viewers understand what I'm saying. And, my friends in school, had Levi's, which I never could afford, or had Nikes. God bless Michael Jordan. I didn't afford that stuff, but they had them. So when you get to a point where you can have that, how many like Levi jeans can I buy? How many more Nike shoes do I need? I don't really need that, but I get a lot of pleasure out of giving things to people that can't or have not had that opportunity. In 2000 and I think it was 13 or 12. I had accumulated like 14 or 15 cars, like Lamborghinis and Aston Martins and really fancy cars. I was really, and one of those days, my son said to me, "Hey, Dad, my buddy wants to know what car are you driving to work today." It stuck in my head, and I was like, "Nah, I don't want my son to be. That's not my son. That's not what I want my son to be talking to his buddies about." So I contacted a homeless charity out of Galveston. I said, "Look, I'm going to give you all these cars. Tell me what you're going to do with these cars." And I gave away every car that I had. I put it at auction and gave all the money to a homeless charity out of Galveston, which completely changed that charity. I mean, they had a large amount of money that they could use to do their mission, which was to help people that are down and out on their luck. So that's kind of what really makes me happy. Like in the law practice, as an example, I don't do it because, I want to make more money. I mean, people think that. I can understand, people's thoughts on lawyers, and they think, there's just a bunch of greedy sharks. I do it because I like to square accounts. I like when somebody's been cheated or wronged. I like to be the guy that shows up and says, you're not going to do that to this person anymore, and we're going to fix this. That's where I get a lot of my pleasure and kind of what drives me to do what I do. And that's the reason I ran to be honest, that's the reason I ran for mayor. It wasn't, I didn't have any, I don't care about galas and going on trips and representing the city of Houston and this thing and that, and, being the mayor and people like wanting to come up and share. What would give me more pleasure was to, find out who had been cheating the city, the citizens of the city, find out who had been not getting the services they were entitled to, find out who had been, palms had been greased to get this and that when it shouldn't happen. That's what I was going to like Jesus said, when Jesus turned out the money changers, that's what I was wanting to do. I was really motivated about that. And that's kind of the fire that's in my belly. And the good news for me is it's still there. I mean, even after the mayor campaign, I got beat up pretty bad. My family got beat up, and I still have the same desire. So I don't know if that answered your question, but that's kind of what moves me.
Well, let me ask one more question. I know when you were running, you committed to. Well, it was only two candidates in the November race that said the same things. That if they won, they would actually donate their salaries. One was you. The other one was Brad Jordan. And a lot of people didn't understand that. So Brad was like, "What I make in a year if I win, I make that in 15 minutes."
Well, I can't.
I want to donate it to somebody that needs it.
I like Scarface.
Yeah.
I got to meet that guy. Remember, the Ghetto Boys, that was the stuff. Okay. And I was at some house meeting, and I was listening, and they were like, "We're not ready for you yet, Tony." And there was some council candidate talking. And I was like, "Wait a minute, who is that over there? Who is that?" And I was like, "That Brad Jordan." I said, "You mean Scarface?" Like, yeah, Scarface. I was like, I was starstruck because I love Scarface. Yeah, but people don't know. What I was going to do, and people were criticizing me for it, is I was going to give the salary to one person. And then they said, "Well, you shouldn't do that." Everybody wants to tell you how to spend your money. That's people love to do that. So then I said, okay, you know what I'll do is every month I will give it to a person who's doing something good, or a cause that's doing something good for the city. I had a lot of people text and email me. I tell you, like, "Tony, when you win, consider me." But our mayor, what does he make? Like $230,000, something like that.
Something like that.
That's a big salary for a city of Houston. But yeah, Scarface is right. I mean, I wasn't obviously trying to be the mayor for the salary. That's not had anything to do with that. Or try to get my friends jobs, or try to get my friends contracts with the city. I don't know anybody that does business with the city, and I think I would have really, really did a real clean scrubbing of the city to make sure that the people that are getting the business deserve the business. I took big issue with they have this Office of Business Opportunity, where you have the same you have to qualify as, let's say, a minority contractor. And then you have the same minority contractor that's in every bid, right? And then you have all these people, many of which are my clients, who never got a contract with the city, who they never graduate anybody out of the program who's already, got a guy. One example I put forward was, there's this guy named Bobby Singh, this guy in Houston who's one of the mayor's big fundraisers, who's in almost every contract as the minority contract, Indian contractor. The guy's a multi-millionaire. And then you got a guy who has a mom and pop house renovation business who never got a contract, who should have, if we're trying to, if that's the intention of the program. So things like that, I would have really enjoyed just turning upside down and making the city work the way I think that it's supposed to work.
Well, we interact with our audience, so I'm gonna combine two people's question into one question.
Okay.
Terry Williams and Armand, they asked the question: what is your thoughts about how Trump is handling the pandemic, Turner and Hidalgo?
Okay, let me start with this premise. Anybody that's in a position of power or administration, it's real easy for all of us to criticize them. And I remember when they first closed the rodeo, somebody said, "Tony Buzbee would have never closed that rodeo." And you know what? I was thinking, maybe I would have closed that rodeo. And I have a hard time with somebody saying that, I can't be forced to wear a mask, when it's not just the person wearing the mask protection, it's the people that they're around. So as much as I have criticisms against Sylvester Turner, and of course I have criticisms against the president, and I have criticisms against Lena Hidalgo, I just honestly don't, and I could easily do it. I mean, I could make good TV and I could make good radio by, going after Lena Hidalgo and Sylvester Turner and Donald Trump. I just won't do it. I can tell you that I'm taking care of me and my family. I don't think it's a bit too big of an inconvenience for somebody to put on a damn mask. I wish I had some solution that would make this all go away, but I hate to use the words the new normal because it sounds so cliche. But we're going to be dealing with this for a long, long time. And even if we get a vaccine, which would be the ultimate, deal killer for this particular virus, there's going to be another one. And, I've been talking to my lawyers. I have a very large law firm, and we've been talking about what is the new normal for practicing law. How are we going to actually run our business? I haven't been to my office in 60 days. I shut down my office long before they did the shelter in place, just because I was concerned about my own employees. So I guess as much as I would like to go on a tangent and criticize Sylvester Turner and the way he wears a mask, or Lena Hidalgo and sometimes the way she wears a mask, or Donald Trump and the way he never wears a mask, or talk about their response to this crisis, I think everybody is kind of feeling their way through it. And I'm just not going to be in that position. I have thought about what I might have done differently, but it's really not fair to any of those three individuals. Part of being a leader, though, I think is exuding some confidence that, hey, we got this under control, and here's what you need to do. I think that is probably lacking in the city of Houston and in Harris County. But again, I made it very clear when I lost that election that I'm not going to be the guy I'm not going to be the Bill King who's, sour grapes is going to criticize the mayor for the next 4 years. That's not the kind of guy I am. I got my own life. I didn't need to be the mayor. I offered myself up. I was not selected. So I'm not sure that answered the question, but that's kind of where I am on it. I have a question from Arthur Smith.
You talking to me?
I just see a question on the screen from Arthur Smith.
Yeah, he asked Mr. Buzbee, what is your input about this Democratic versus Republican division in Houston, Texas?
Man, I'll tell you this. I think there should be a new party, to be honest. I think there should be, and I don't think there ever will be. It's been tried in the history. It never happened. I tried as an independent. And obviously, I made the runoff, but it didn't work. And I think a lot of traditional Republicans, fell behind me and supported me, and a lot of Democrats rejected me because they thought I was Republican. The city of Houston and I think most city elections across the United States should be nonpartisan. The city of Houston is where the rubber meets the road. All the city municipalities, that's all the services that are provided to your everyday services, whether it be trash or roads or your water. I mean, these are things that impact you the most. I don't think those are partisan issues. I really wish that the election that I was in had not been turned in such a partisan circus, but it was. If you ask me right now, are you a Democrat or Republican? I don't know if y'all seen that guy on TikTok. That's what I would do. I don't have a choice. I mean, I could tell you things about traditional Democratic values that I appreciate. I could tell you things about traditional Republican values that I appreciate. But I'd be hard pressed to pick one side. And that's the problem. We shouldn't be picking a side, especially when you're talking about city elections and even county elections. And our judges, as another example. Obviously, I understand, when you're talking about national elections, Congress and Senate and all that stuff, there's a need for that. But I think it does a disservice to the city. What we should be thinking about is who's going to be the best representative of the city, who's going to advocate on behalf of the city, who's going to serve the citizens the best, not, whether this person is a Democrat or Republican. It's funny to me that Sylvester Turner tagged me as being the Donald Trump Republican when I, laying aside, raised money for Sylvester Turner, but also was the Galveston County Democratic chairperson.
Demetri?
So I think everybody knows that one of the hot ticket items for this whole election cycle is a Black agenda. And so I want to ask you specifically, when you were running for mayor, did you have a plan for, let's say, more Black neighborhoods like your Acres Home, Cedarwood, Cashmere Gardens? Because from what I understand, I don't live out there, but it sounds like the roads are kind of messed up. They have a lot of food hazards and things like that. So did you have a plan to help spur economic growth in those neighborhoods and just make life a little bit better for the people who live there?
I thought I did. I mean, I may not have done a good job articulating it. I got pushed so hard into the quote Republican camp that I was talking about those types of issues because those are things I really care about. When I talk about the Office of Business Opportunity and how it has been hijacked by not only this mayor, but the previous mayor's cronies, where basically small business people, small minority business people, small African-American business people have been frozen out of the system, totally frozen out. And you got the same contractors over and over and over who never try to be the general contractor, always content to be the subcontractor and make sure that they're in every single bid so they never lose, and they freeze out everybody else. So when you're talking about trying to I don't want to say redevelop, because there's always this issue that I always talked about, which was when you talk about improving and developing a traditionally unserviced neighborhood, the first thing that people start saying is, wait a minute, I don't want my neighborhood gentrified. I want to be able to work, live in my neighborhood that I've been here. My family's been here for 2 or 3 generations. And I don't want a bunch of outsiders coming in and just pushing us out and making the neighborhood where it's unaffordable. So there's a very fine line, and it's tough, but I talked about it a lot. So yeah, I had a plan. I had it on my website. We talked a lot about it, but the truth is, it's my fault ultimately. When you're trying to communicate and you don't communicate effectively, it's always the communicator, not the receiver. Always. I learned that as a lawyer. If I fail to persuade somebody, it's not their fault, it's my fault. And I failed. And again, I've said it before, Turner did a really good job. I mean, Turner was well known. His team was very skilled. And so anytime I spoke about that thing, I think it fell on those kind of things. It fell on deaf ears of people are like, oh, wait a minute. No, you're the Trump guy. I don't want to hear anything you have to say. Even though I was talking about there's a reason that your roads are terrible. There's a reason that you don't have lights down your street. There's a reason that there's illegal dumping all over 3rd Ward, Acres Home, 5th Ward. There's a reason, because the city does not service these areas. There's a reason that the police, including my brother-in-law as a policeman, told me there's some streets I just don't go down after night. There's a reason that crime, the gang-related crime is absolutely focused on some communities. And, go down, Bissonnette, which is where all the sexual trade goes on, Bissonnette between Beltway 8 and Highway 59. You go down any night. You go down there tonight. There's young women that are on the streets who are involved in the sex, and the city just turns a blind eye. And I talked about a lot of those things. And because there's a lot of people that are suffering that are not receiving the same city services that we receive here where I'm sitting in River Oaks. Not everybody can afford a private security service. Not everybody can afford a gate around their home like I have. They're doing and I'm not criticizing, I'm just saying they're doing a River Oaks Boulevard rejuvenation where they raised $2 million in like 30 days so they could make the street look even prettier. And then you go down to 3rd Ward, and you see how those streets are, and you see the condition of the lights and the sidewalk and so forth, there's a major disparity. But I guess, and again, it was my failure. I was not able to articulate or to persuade appropriately folks that would trust me to say, you know what, you got somebody here that has the ability and who has the credibility to go in there and change these. I could have brought, what I kept trying to say is that there are people that had committed to me, you know, Tony, if you don't have the city finances, I can put together groups of 15 to 20 donors that can go, instead of, in Houston, we have Buffalo Bayou Park, which runs parallel to Memorial and Allen Parkway, which are kind of one of the major arteries from the west side of town into Houston. There's a donor that lives probably 4 blocks from me right here that donated $50 million to renovate Buffalo Bayou Park. He's made it, I mean, beautiful. I could get 15 more people like that. The mayor should be able to go out and get 15 people like that to say, look, you care about this city? You want to attract Amazons of the world? You want to attract Teslas? You want to attract those? We got to laser focus on our schools. Don't tell me that the city has nothing to do with the school district. I reject that. We absolutely can make our school district where people want to move to the school district instead of out of the school district. Because what we have in a lot of major cities across the country is we have people who want to have, you have young professionals, you know, who are willing to live in a high rise and live in the city. If they want to have children, that's what they do. They want a house and they want a yard and they move out. And then we spend billions of dollars on freeways to bring them back into the city. That's what we're doing. And we need to make, and it's all about the schools. That starts with the school system. You know, obviously security, all the basic services. I mean, you got to make people feel safe where they live, but it starts with the school. And Sylvester Turner was very clear from the very beginning. Look, schools, the HISD, which is one of the largest school systems in the country, I don't manage it. I don't have a control over it. I can't change it. I rejected that. I could have brought donors in to transform in a just a huge transformation of the school system, which will change city.
I'm gonna take the bullets for you on this one.
All right.
He said he don't have nothing to do with the school system, but this the same mayor that put a group of people together in City Hall that were willing to take over failing African-American schools and turn them into charter schools. But he don't have nothing to do with the school system.
For-profit charter schools. That's what he wanted to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, I reject that. I reject that out of hand. And I think any mayor of any major city across the country, if he or she is really focused on making that city livable and a city that people want to move to, the first thing you do, I mean, and I don't know, you know, everybody watching this or even my friends here that I'm looking at your faces. I have 4 kids. My kids, until I moved into Houston, went to public school. Where I lived was based on what school I could afford the house to get them into. Most young families with children, they move to, if they can, and understanding a lot of people can't. A lot of people are stuck where they are. But people that have children want to put their kids in the best school to give them the best chance of success. And that's why I think that the HISD and the city of Houston are joined at the hip like Siamese twins, if you will. And if HISD is not successful, Houston will not ultimately be successful. And we got to have somebody, a mayor, who doesn't say, no, that's not my bailiwick. No, it is your bailiwick. That is your job. Do what you can do. You have you got the Greater Houston Partnership, which is all the rich folks with all the, the CEOs, all the so-called important people. How many more galas do you need to have? Where's the gala for HISD? Why don't you go out and raise 10 or 15 million for HISD and start a pilot program in 3rd Ward, right? And then start a program in 5th Ward, and then go here, and then that is long term. That's what makes the city of Houston a place where why does Austin, Texas. Why are company? We heard Tesla is moving to Texas. You think they're even considering Houston? Nah, they're not considering. You know why? Workforce. That's what they'll say. Well, you don't have an educated workforce. HISD is a failing school. You have blah, blah. That's what they'll say. They need a mayor. Houston needs a mayor that says, wait, congratulations on your new baby, Mr. Musk. I want you to come to Houston. Let me tell you why. Here's why you can be successful in Houston, Texas. We miss a lot of that. I think that's one of the things I thought I offered. I hoped I offered, but unfortunately, I fell short.
Well, I tell you what, man, you just preached a sermon about City Hall in the school district. I go to school board and I preach that same sermon all the time. So, Demetra.
Well, I have something a little bit change of pace. What would you say your 3 keys to success are? Because obviously you're very successful. Whenever I get a chance to talk to someone who is very successful, I like to know what they recommend to at least get halfway to where they are. So what would you say your 3 keys to success are?
The number one for me, I have a very inquisitive mind, and I'm not sure you can make yourself like that. And I think that's probably been the reason that I like to know a lot about everything. But I tell the people that work for me, I can't teach hungry. I can teach you how to practice law. I can teach you how to take a deposition. I can teach you how to, read a balance sheet. I can teach you how to, all the principles of management. But I can't teach you to be motivated for your own success. You can't teach hungry, and I'm hungry. I've worked 9 hours today, sitting in one place, working on a project that I'm working on that I'm very passionate about. So hard work for me is the key. If you're willing to put in the work, you can do anything. That's been proven time and time and time again. I'm a voracious reader. I love reading, learning things. We are so blessed that you don't have to go to Harvard. I'm a Texas A&M person. I went to University of Houston. I didn't go to any fancy schools, but I've had the benefit of reading the books that those fancy people wrote, or the classes that they give. You can get online now, and you can take classes. They got something called I think it's called the Great Works, which is a website that you can, if you want to learn history, you want to learn, anything you want to possibly learn, it's available for you at your fingertips, that I don't think everybody takes advantage of. Nowadays, if you don't like to read, nowadays you can just listen to books. You right off your cell phone, you can listen to any book you want to possibly listen to. So I read probably a book every day and a half. And it ranges from, I just finished a book called The Sea, which is just, somebody had recommended it. It's like a 1,600-page book. It was just incredibly awesome. But I also, 2 days ago, read a book about Abraham Lincoln's last trial. So I really enjoy reading. I think, anytime, rather than sitting in front of it. And of course, I love TV too. We're also blessed with great TV. I've been watching that Michael Jordan thing on ESPN. That is really, really, really good. But so hard work, reading, and then, I think it's very important for me personally. I like to meditate and take time for yourself, whether it be, working out or walking or meditating. Those are going to church, spending time with your Creator. Those are things that we don't actually put on our calendar. It's just something, but I always put that on my calendar. It's something that's important. It's just as important as reading a book. It's just as important having a Zoom call with my entire firm. So those are probably the 3 most important ones. But I go back to this. I'll give you a little trick I used to do. Sometimes I would send an email to my entire law firm, over 100 people, like at 3:30 on a Friday afternoon. And I would wait and see who had responded first. you know, whoever responded on Friday, who responded on Saturday, who responded on Sunday, who responded on afternoon on Monday. Then that told me a lot about how hungry and how motivated and how committed they were to our what we were trying to do. So one thing I've learned, if a guy like me, you know, who was I graduated with 60 people in my high school class, and I wasn't even in the top 10%. You know, I got into Texas A&M, and but for the fact that I got a ROTC scholarship, I wouldn't have went to college. I probably would have enlisted in the Navy, because they were at that point they were providing like a $30,000 bonus, which was more money than I'd ever thought about. And for a guy like me to now be where I am and to be asked on a show to talk about, to even be asked this question, anybody can do it. Anybody. It just takes there's a book, I think, let me see what it's called. I just finished it, and I recommend it to people because it made a good point. There's a book called Atomic Habits. It's a book called Atomic Habits, and it's written by a guy named James Clear. And I don't know anything about this person. It was a New York Times bestseller, but it talks about the habits that you develop in your life, and it's just small little changes. Like, let's say you wake up this morning, and typically you would spend 2 hours watching TV. So you know what? I'm going to spend an hour and a half, but I'm going to spend 30 minutes reading a book about this. And just little small, because when you think about a ship, and anybody's ever been on a very large ship, I spent 9 months on a ship once when I was deployed. You know, it's just real small course changes that at the end of the journey, you're in a whole different country. It's the same thing. That's the whole gist of the book, which is small changes in your daily habits will make major changes in your life. And so I've always been one of these people that every morning when I wake like at 5 a.m., no matter how late I stay up and whatever I'm doing late at night, 5 a.m., my eyes wake up and I'm ready, like, let's go. So I have kind of a verve for life and what's going to be next. And what it won't be is mayor of Houston.
Donovan, you get the last question, my friend.
You guys are
okay. Awesome. Yeah. Hey, I've learned a lot. And like I said, as a fellow comrade in arms, I thank you for your service. But I asked a lot of leaders, be it, if you're elected or not, there's a lot of leaders in our community. Recently, there's been a video that has surfaced, as I'm sure you've heard or saw, especially as an attorney, of a man that was gunned down while jogging. And on one of my shows that I do here in California, we talk about, Vigilante justice and all this other stuff. But, as a Black person, we constantly see these things happening to us, and no leaders are out there speaking out. What is your, just off the cuff, you were in the Marine Corps, so you have a plethora of Marine Corps brothers from all backgrounds. What is your take on the recent shooting?
You know what the first thing I thought about that was? I thought if I were an African American father and I had a son who was just gonna, like, Dad, I'm gonna go for a walk, I would be worried. And I hate to say that. I hate to be like that. I hate to believe that about the country we live in and about law enforcement or people that were in law enforcement. Apparently, these two knuckleheads were, one of them at least was in law enforcement. I mean, I can't curse on your show, but
Yes, you can.
I just don't get it, man. I don't, I used to I think like we're making such progress. When I was in the Marines, I didn't care what color we were all green. We were green, right? I mean, I had to write a letter. If one of my guys got killed, I don't care what color you were. I had to write a letter home. I don't want to write a letter home. Those guys relied upon me. I was a lieutenant and ultimately a captain. Seeing shit like that, man, it really, really bugs me. I don't know, and I wish I had some answer. This is 2020. It's 2020. And it ain't a Republican Democrat thing. And that's the problem I have with it. People try to make it a Republican Democrat thing. And all these people's like, well, there's got to be some other video. Well, maybe he was in a construction site. We have a video of him in a construction site. What the hell does that have to do with him running down the street and getting shot and killed? I don't know, man. I wish I had some words of wisdom, but I will say it just if I were the father of an African American young man, God, I would be like, you, young man, you have to protect yourself. There's things that you just can't do. You can't do. I mean, you look at some of the things that and I don't want to make it racial, but it is. And like, like I've yelled at cops before. I've yelled at them like, hey, you blah, blah, blah. If I were African American, I wouldn't do it. I'm just saying, I know that that may be a popular opinion, but I wouldn't do it. I'd be very careful. And now tensions are such that they are, and it makes it even worse. And because not only are our citizens are going to be extra, concerned, the cops are going to be on edge too. And look at what we got. I mean, we just got, it's just, I hope you see the level of, man, I don't know. It bothers me a lot. We're better than that as a people. We're a lot better than that. That's what I'll say.
Well, I tell you what, Tony, you've enlightened us tonight. And I'm going to tell some of y'all out there with the crazy comments something my father used to tell me. He say, boy, don't hang around nobody that ain't got but $2 in their pocket, because you ain't going to never get to $1 million. When a millionaire is speaking, shut your dumb ass up. Please shut up when they giving you the game.
I didn't get to see the comments. Am I missing the comments? Am I getting?
Oh, they on there. You can go back and you got a bunch of fans here. Yeah. A lot of people learning new things about you tonight. But when a millionaire is telling you what it's gonna take, and excuse my friend, just shut your dumb ass up.
You know what I'm looking forward to after this show? I got some new special kind of cornmeal I bought out of Florida. I'm gonna go cook my son some fried chicken. So there you go.
I tell you what, my friend, you're a good dude in my book.
Thank you.
We need more good people in office, no matter what folk may think, no matter who they support. If they can get the job done, then that's what it is. If you ever run into a problem and you need a good attorney, I bet you'll call Tony, and you wouldn't care if Trump was his friend or not.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. Thank you, my friend, for coming on. I'm gonna inbox you. And he was one of the only candidates that embraced the 21-page plan that we had to slow down gun violence in the city of Houston. I'm gonna say that in front of everybody. A lot of people wouldn't even listen to us, but he did. So thank you, my friend, and God bless you, man. Keep pushing hard, man.
Y'all have a good week.
All right now.
Bye-bye.
Now I'm back. When the millionaire shut your dumb ass up. I'm dead serious, man. The man that told you gotta read.
You gotta
read.
You
know what they say? You could, if he put $1 million in a book, your black ass gonna miss it. But you ain't gonna read. I don't give a damn who he support. So you checking him because he supports Trump. Well, you support Turner, sorry. What the hell Turner doing for black people? I just had to get that off my chest, y'all. When a millionaire talking, shut your dumb broke ass up. Or go find you.
I will never understand Republican, Democrat, Trump, this, that. It's all one party. And we say that constantly. They get their money from the same people. You guys got to do your homework. If a Republican is going to do a better job to improve my community, I'm voting for him. And if us as black people, we would stop just I'm a Democrat, and start holding those Democrats accountable. maybe we can get something done in our neighborhood, because you know what? They're not concerned about our vote because they automatically got it. The Congressional Black Talkers, these guys are like, what, 60? Let's say there's 60 congressional members. And a lot of you guys will say, well, you know, you need a majority to move anything. Please explain to me, how did Mitch McConnell obstruct Obama for 6 years in the minority?
Nobody can
A pawn
answer.
a pawn is a very powerful piece if it's moved intelligently.
You know what? When y'all was tripping and out here, when y'all was tripping, I was on drilling rigs in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico with white guys from Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and I knew what they were. But I would sit at them tables every day and I would eat with them. Didn't matter if they was racist or not. You feel what I'm saying? Because I can respect a man who gonna be who he needs to be. I can respect you. I don't have to, agree with you, but I can respect you. Some of y'all done bought into this foolishness, in this political thing, and then now you can see why we ain't got shit. If the white man can fix the streets in my neighborhood, the hell with your black politician.
And I just want to ask Cynthia, because Cynthia Funches, she's been on one the whole time about him being a Trump supporter and, he's a liar and he can't be trusted and all this other stuff. But I want to ask you guys, since you guys are the only one that can answer back, who predominantly holds seats in black neighborhoods? It's usually Democrats, right? Or black politicians. Then ask yourself, has your neighborhood changed from, let's say, even 20 years ago? Has your neighborhoods changed at all? Do you have, better roads in grocery stores and thriving black businesses and, great education? If the answer is no, then how can you hold? And listen, I'm not saying Trump is a good guy, because he's not. I'm not a Trump supporter. I am too nonpartisan. But you can't keep pointing the finger at Trump and the Republicans when you, Cynthia, because it's probably somebody like you, keep voting in Democrats and black Democrats just out of symbolism, and they ain't doing a goddamn thing for you. Not nothing. And it's people like you who probably go and spread your nonsense to other people and then they believe the hype that they got to vote blue no matter who, or we got to vote blue all down ballot. And then after the election is over, you don't have nothing to go home to. Your conditions are still the same. And so while you're pointing the finger at Trump, ask your politicians that hold seats in your neighborhood, what are they doing for you?
I'm just, right now, we got a black kid on the ground in Houston. They don't want to release the video footage from the Houston Police Department. And I said this before we came on and Tony was on, but I remember that there was a high-speed chase in Bel Air, and the something happened and maybe shots fired. And an hour after it happened, they had the video on the news. They're not showing the video. So what does your black mayor have to say about this black child, this black young man on the ground? And now all of a sudden, once again, we can't release the video. When something happens, no matter if it's flooding, whatever, we always got to go to the white Democrat or the white Republican. I don't give a damn what you say, who you support, whatever. My neighborhood has looked like it's looked for the last 30 years. The only reason we're getting upgrades is because of gentrification. They never gave a damn about Emancipation Park until they decided we're going to make it for the white people. We didn't have no bike trails over there. Midtown wasn't Midtown until they decided to make it for somebody else. So where's our black elected officials? And I'm going to tell anybody that want to do this, because I'm serious about this. This is a great platform. And I'm not talking to Cynthia. I'm talking to everybody. Don't bring your ignorant ass on here with that dumb shit no more. If you ain't got the guts to come sit on this motherfucker, then don't open your mouth, man, if you can't say the right thing. I don't give a damn if he supported Trump. I don't see no black politicians giving away 1,000 bicycles every year. I don't see no black politicians, selling exotic cars and giving the money to a homeless shelter. If anything, they trying to steal a car. I'm good.
I want to address Wanda because I see Wanda's back. How you doing, Wanda?
Hey, be careful. That's my mom's name now. I might go out.
I want to make sure that wasn't your mama before I went too far to the left. So Wanda says, be careful, Cynthia. You'll be called an exceptional Negro for having a difference of opinion. No, Cynthia doesn't have a difference of opinion. She has a typical opinion of people who are caught up on symbolisms. And she doesn't need someone like you, who at this point, I believe you do believe you're an exceptional Negro. She doesn't need somebody like you to egg her on. What she needs is somebody to educate her so that wherever she lives can be improved, that they can get results. She doesn't need to be hanging on symbolism. I got to vote for a black Democrat. She needs somebody to really give her the education. And you're not doing her or anybody like her a good service by, feeding her stuff out of your ego. Tell her the truth so that she can make better decisions when it comes to politics. I don't know what your axe to grind is here, but you actually want to be a part of the problem. I'm going to call you out on that.
Absolutely. If you guys were listening to what Mr. Buzbee was saying, what Tony was saying, was he was just as poor as anybody else wherever he came from. Went to a regular college, whatever. But how did he get his money? How did he get his start? And I'm not saying everybody, this is the path you need to go, but I think it's a crime when he has a blueprint of how he does it. I was given a blueprint of how I would go and educate myself if I don't have the money. So he joined the Marine Corps. And let me tell you guys something about the Marine Corps. My father was a Marine. My brother was a Marine. And my mom was in the Army. I come from a long list of military people. To be a Marine and to take the money, do what he had to do. He was in infantry, which is, he could have been in the JAG Corps if he wanted to, just to be a straight lawyer, not be in infantry. But he went the long route. And along that route, he probably met some very influential people. So what I'm saying is when we tell our kids that are sitting in the 5th Ward, they're not exceptional football players, they're not exceptional basketball players, they're not America's Next Top Model, and there's no other option for them to go out. I'm not saying push them in the military, but if you don't want to incur that debt and you want to just go out and do certain things, because everybody in the military doesn't go to combat. And here's a guy that took a blueprint and he's a major, the military paid for it. He's a major lawyer in the Houston area. I mean, I was just like, what? A Marine? Those guys are dumb as rocks. And he did it. So that's.
I tell you what he didn't touch on. That before, the government decided to give these loans to these small businesses, he decided to give loans to small businesses before the government even did it. See, we spend too much time trying to criticize people for the wrong reasons, man. Quit letting these people sway you. Stop letting these people sway the way that you think, man. So I look, if y'all got a problem with anybody we bring on, let us know. And I'll say this here. At least the white folk got the guts to come. Where your black politicians at? They ain't got the guts to show up here. Because they already know what they ain't done. So thank you, Mr. Tony Buzbee. You're welcome back to the war zone at any time. And I'll make sure tonight that I purge my friend list. Because some of y'all, like Malcolm say, when the revolution start, you got to get rid of some of your own people. Tonight, I'm going to get rid of some of y'all.
Well, listen, I wouldn't say get rid of them. I would say to continue to try to educate them. Because, everybody is not on the level of a lot of people on here. Some people really just don't know. And I think anything we do, we should try to do it from a position of love first. You know, because we were all, and I'm not admonishing you, Gary, at all. I'm just making a point to people who are listening, because at one point we didn't know what we know. You know what I mean? And so I'm going to assume that Cynthia really doesn't know. I don't want to call her uneducated. She probably just doesn't know, you know, the things in regards to Trump and all that other stuff and the Democrats. So that's our job, as they would call us, the resurrectors, to, no offense to anybody, but wake up the dead. Because when you do that, then they start to open their eyes and they start to say, okay, I get it. Because I'll be honest with you, I was a Democrat too. Years ago, I'm voting all Democrat. I was there too. And then my eyes began to open and I started to learn things that I didn't know. So I wouldn't say that you delete them unless they're just downright disrespectful. They need to keep coming back so they can keep getting the information, because when she gets it, then she's going to go and teach other people around her, and then it spreads, right? It spreads like the coronavirus. I can't tell you what to do, obviously, on your page, but I'm just making a suggestion.
Well, you know, at the end of the day, regardless if you like what is being said and you like the guests that are here or not, you're putting a seed in everybody's head, no matter which way it goes. So, you know, kudos to you, Jerry, for just, you know, putting it out there and challenging these people to read what these other people are saying.
Well, I tell you what, Tony was a great guest. Love having him. Tomorrow, let's see if you complain about this one. Do you know who Derek Dixon is? Derek Dixon, affectionately known as D-Rec, the CEO of Rec Shop Records, with artists like Big Pokey, Pimp Tight, ESG, Fat Pat, and last but not least, Big Mo. I hope you got your purple drink tomorrow, because tomorrow night we bringing the originator of it into the building. So if you ain't from the hood, if you ain't never fired a sweet up, if you ain't never drunk no lean, tomorrow night's conversation is not for you. Because we going.
Then I might stay home then.
Now you stuck with us. So tomorrow night, D-Rec will be in the building, Rec Shop Records. If you a true Big Mo fan, Big Pokey, Fat Pat, you gonna be in the building with us, baby. I want to thank my guest, Tony Buzbee, my co-host, Donovan Sadiq. She had to spank you on your ass tonight, Demetra K. And I am the 5-star general. I'll see you tomorrow.